Welcome everybody to this first collaboration of, God willing, many of them to come. Obviously, for all of you guys here in Riverside, California, you know who I'm sitting down with, but there's more to this person that you haven't had the opportunity to meet and the blessing like I've had to meet Mark Menezes. You know, Mark Menezes has created the platform or the social media of Mark from Riverside. But once you have the opportunity to sit down with them, like I've had at our office for more than 5 weeks now, you really need to understand and get to know the entrepreneur, the CEO, the businessman that sits behind Mark from Riverside, which it's hard to create a brand. You know that for a fact.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time, but you gotta learn his background. And yes, I'm gonna read it really quick. This gentleman has worked in media and publishing for over 15 years. He was the product of development and training for an Inc. 5000 publishing company. He created and launched 5 successful magazines, one of them which was the Real Estate Producer brand, and launched in over 115 markets. That's not easy to do. Now, he's also currently one of the owners for Compel Media, local company here in Riverside, California. He has created and produced several podcasts and blogs. Obviously, one of them you guys know as Mark from Riverside. Combined, he has over 85,000 followers through all over his social medias, and he has a reach of over $600,000 monthly. He's getting there. Yeah. He has a reach over 600,000 followers or people on a monthly basis. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
How did you start it to finding and tune up the industry of marketing? Out of all the industries, publishing, magazine, real estate, how was it that you started in that industry?
So in publishing is 14, 15 years ago. I think the one thing I've always enjoyed doing is telling a story. I've always been entrepreneurial. Most of my adult life, I've owned my own business, and I noticed early on one of the things that I really enjoyed was marketing, branding, telling a story, but not just telling my story, but telling other people's stories. Is where I really got excited. So I got involved in publishing. I'd owned a few businesses before that, and when I got involved with publishing and creating magazines and telling the story of people or whatever story we were doing, I just loved it and I enjoyed it. And so it started there, that traditional platform, and then 2015, 16, social media was really taking off. You know, Instagram started doing videos and reels, and about that time, video was where it was at. And so I realized that the power of social media and through video, just the ability to tell a story, have so many people see it, and video is such a magnetic, compelling, method to do that. And so from publishing into social media, but I think for me, it just started. I love telling stories. I love telling other people's stories. I love marketing. I love branding. I love trying to figure out how to, whether it's a story or a business or a product or a service, how can we really tell the story of what it is and get it out there?
At what point did you start to understand, okay, I understand marketing, I understand publishing. There's a way I can monetize this.
Yeah.
When was that bridge? When was the aha moment to understand I can monetize it, but this is how I'm gonna monetize it?
I'd say, so I started the Mark from Riverside platform a little over 2 years ago. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
At the time, I knew I would be able to monetize it and turn it into a business, but I honestly had no idea how. I knew that I could. I saw, even going back to 2015, when I put my first videos out on Facebook for the magazine I was doing. And at the time, Facebook was the #1 platform. And I had a magazine that we would get so much attention, and my advertisers would get, so much attention from it, which for the most part was limited. And in 2015, 16, I put the first video out about the magazine. We were doing kind of a podcast and blog to document the process. I remember putting up a Facebook video, and it got like 15,000 views on Facebook, which back then was crazy.
Was it easy to get 15,000 at that time?
No.
Because right now it's pretty hard to get 15,000 in today's DNA.
I think it was even harder then, because Facebook, the way that social media works now, especially with video and reels, I think it was even harder then.
Really?
Because on Facebook, especially then, Facebook, for the most part, it was putting your videos out in front of the people that followed you, right? Where now Instagram and TikTok has really changed the game for social media. Where now they're putting videos out in front of anybody that the algorithms think will be interested in it. Right? So some ways it's harder now, in some ways it's easier, because if you put the right video out with the right content, and it's a good video and it finds your audience, it can go crazy.
It goes viral, it goes
like I have a
crazy.
video now that we were talking about, Riverside Trash Brothers has almost 800,000 views on Instagram. But back then on Facebook, for the most part, it was just putting your videos out to your followers. So to put out a video then that went to a larger group of people. But anyways, then that video was kind of the moment for me of realizing, okay, was that 8 years ago, 9 years ago? Me seeing the power of that, of social media and video, that was the first aha moment then.
Okay.
And it took still a few years to kind of get to what I'm doing now and figure it out. But that was the first moment. And then when I started this 2 years ago, I knew for sure I'd be able to monetize it, but then I had no idea how.
Okay.
And so the first 2 years of putting videos out every day, never made a penny. At this point now, I'm even up until recently had not made a profit. And I knew going into it that I was going to have to build something that I would figure out exactly how to monetize, and I knew it was going to take time.
Okay.
In some ways, it was risky, right? Because I'm going all in on this business that there's not a roadmap for it, right? If you want to become an accountant or a lawyer,
there's already a blueprint that you can follow.
There's a roadmap. You can look at it and say, okay, on average, this is the salary, this is the revenue that I'll do, and this is how to do it. But with this, especially then, it just that roadmap doesn't exist. So
essentially, that's what you're doing right now. You're creating a brand new roadmap. How I just show you the video. I went to school for music. That's what I wanted. That's what I study. And I'm blessed to say I've been running a business since 2016. A business that has provided for over 50 families. I didn't study business. Did you study business administration? What is your background when it comes to that?
No, I definitely didn't. Actually, my education, I went to Bible college.
Bible college.
Yep, I got a degree in Bible and had a minor in Greek and Hebrew, studying the original languages that the Old Testament and New Testament was written in. And I did missionary work before that. I was a youth pastor and went to Bible college at the time thinking that I wanted to be a teacher and a Bible teacher. So that was all my education. So in terms of what I'm doing now, business and marketing, I had no education or no training in that at all, really.
How has your relationship with God, with Jesus, played into your role of an entrepreneur, a business owner?
I mean, I'd say really it's the foundation of everything, right? So like whether it's relationships that I have or my business, I think the one thing it's done for me is me having that faith and that trust in him, doing something like this 2 years ago of taking a chance and taking a step into doing this without a roadmap, without any promises, without knowing even then, like I have no idea how I'll make money on this, but I know I will. I think knowing that he's there and he's the foundation and having that trust and that faith, I don't know if I would be able to do it without that, right? Because there was no guarantees or promises about anything else, right? So really that was the only kind of promise I had. Not that it would be successful because he exists or because I have a relationship with him, but knowing that either way, that either he would help me figure it out, and if not, then it would be something else.
And he always does, because even with my aunt, and I share this story with you, it was before my dad transitioned that it became seen to me as a form of a gift of clarity. To be able to understand what is it that I'm doing. But it's not understand what I'm doing, it's being able to see my life from the outside looking in. It's to really understand that I have the faith in Jesus because he's guiding me every step of the way. And even in moments in the business when we're struggling to generate new revenue, to generate cash flows, like you said, it's the faith and the foundation that if you have faith in God, how God is going to guide you. He doesn't want anything bad for us to happen. His wishes are the promises, and you know the book better than I do. He wants everything that is good for us, but he also cannot just give it to us, because otherwise, like some other kings in the Bible, they've done things wrong, but they always come back to him and they ask for forgiveness, and he's always there. And if I don't have that faith, there's no way I can keep on running the business that I'm growing. There's no way I will have the courage to ask, hey, Mark, you want to do a collaboration with me? But I know that when it's for the good reason of, first of all, giving the glory to him, everything else comes into place. But you study the Bible, and this is the one thing I tell you, man, that this is awesome about you. It's a part of you that not everybody knows. How do you continue to move forward with your business now? You created for the past 2 years, Mark from Riverside, over 58,000 followers. What are your steps as a CEO to not only monetize it, but to scale it? How are you going to start to develop the blueprint for what you've already been doing for 2 years? How do you see the vision of your business coming through?
In terms of monetizing it, into a business?
And scaling it.
Yeah, so I think for me, the first 2 years has been creating what it is, right? And the brand. I think in today's environment and business environment, brand is so important, right? Like and we can do things to help create what our brand is, but It's the public's perception of what the brand is, right?
Okay.
I can try to say, well, my brand is this and it's that and that, but if the public doesn't perceive it as that, then it's not.
True.
So the public they're the ones that decide what the brand is. All we can do is try to maneuver our way through and be intentional in what we're doing. So I think for me, the first 2 years, creating the product, which is videos and all things Riverside, and promoting businesses and telling stories and being very intentional in everything that I've done. And I think one of the key things to that is just being genuine. And so if I had to describe how have I created my brand and what have I done, for me, it's just been trying to be very intentional in every aspect of it, to be genuine and to be myself and to be real, right? Because people connect with that.
You mentioned Riverside. A lot of business owners, the ones that I work with, they're always thinking, well, I want to be known in the whole entire state of California. Everybody wants to have their brand known nationwide. Riverside. Was there any strategic reason why you decided Mark from Riverside versus Mark from California, Mark from the Inland Empire?
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason why you went with Mark from Riverside?
Yeah, I think it started, so I grew up here and then I went to school back east, and so I was gone for like 15 years. So I didn't move back to Riverside till about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And when I moved back, I was doing the real estate magazine, was doing that, started as Inland Empire Real Producers. So I was still working for the publishing company and helped launch it in other cities. But I personally own and ran the Inland Empire version here. So I was doing that, and we were doing articles on real estate agents all over the Inland Empire. So one week it would be in Riverside, and then next week we're doing a photo shoot in Rancho and Temecula and Redlands and all over. And so those first like 2 years of doing that, being back here, I had this interesting experience where I was falling more and more in love with Riverside, the city I lived in, the city I grew up in. And I noticed whenever we would do an article or story on another city, it was just different, right? Like each city has its own vibe and flavor and uniqueness. And every time I would go to a different city and then I'd come to Riverside, I would just fall more in love with Riverside and how unique of a city it is. And the pride that people have of Riverside and the community that exists and the business owners are just, it's unique even amongst other cities in the Inland Empire. So I was doing that, and I started doing videos at first on my personal page just for fun. I wanted to learn how to edit myself, because all the stuff I'd done before that, podcasts and blogs, I used videographers and editors. And so I was the creative force behind all of it, but I was never the one actually filming or doing the editing. So when I was here and started that magazine, and I was having like that experience of falling in love with Riverside and the restaurants and the city, and I just wanted to do for fun just some videos on some friends that own restaurants or businesses. So I taught myself how to edit on my phone and started putting those out, and I love doing it. And so the transition then from doing that magazine, and we were really heavy on social media in the magazine as well. So we were putting out blogs and podcasts and content. But then I'm doing on the side just for fun these videos on Riverside and businesses, and I loved it and I fell in love with it. So when I transitioned to figuring out, okay, I'm gonna do this, should I do it for the Inland Empire, should I do it for Southern California? For me, it was almost selfish. Like, I don't want to do it on other cities. Like, I love Riverside, right? I just want to do it on. So it started kind of selfishly, just my desire, but now looking back, I can see I accidentally, I think, did something that was really powerful and has allowed it to be successful, to where the more niche you can be in whatever you're doing, especially in the world of social media, the easier it is for you to get not just an audience, but a loyal audience that's engaged and connected with you, right? Because they connect with Riverside. So I could be Mark from Earth, right? And try to
everything
reach
to everybody.
But it's like, okay, I live on that planet, or I could do California. But the more niche you are, the more connected people will feel to it.
Well, I was just having a conversation with Jorge, with Abarca, who's behind the camera. Jorge, say hello.
Hey, guys.
One of the things that we're trying to achieve with our social media, obviously, yes, we want to create we want to get followers. We want to get those viral videos. But as him and I were having a meeting earlier today, look, I'd rather have a community of maybe 15,000, maybe 20,000, maybe even 10,000, but a community that they can come and they can approach me. A community that I can add the value to them. If it's going to be a business owner with everything that we've done with a lot of financial. Because what good is it to have 300,000 followers if you don't make yourself available to them and if you're not adding any value? And that to me became crucial before I decided to do social media. Because if you bring it to what you've done with your social media page, and you said you have to be genuine, you have to truly be yourself when you're creating content. Because if you don't do it like that, people will see it. People notice those things. And to me, it was crucial to know, it's like, I'm not an influencer. I'm not here to be an influencer. I'm not here to tell you how to become a millionaire. No. I feel confident to say, because you do have to bring in value to the table.
Yeah.
If you're putting yourself in front of the camera, like what you've done with your page is awesome with the Trash Boys. You took them from 89 followers to over 5,000 followers in just 6 weeks, or not even 6 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Is you're adding value to a business owner restaurant, which you told me the story. What was the name of the restaurant? They needed the help. They were making in the payroll. They were making in the rent.
Yeah.
They come in, they ask you for help. How was this? What was that restaurant? Tell me that story a little bit again.
The Jeff Rocks Adobo,
Yes.
the micro enterprise home kitchen.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
They reached out, asked to do a video, and they didn't tell me any of this the first time. Did the video, it did really well. I think between Instagram and TikTok got like 1 million views. And then it was maybe 4 months later, I went back just to order some food, and they came out and talked to me, and they shared how, which I didn't know when I went out there the first time, they were struggling, right, to try to make this work and selling food out of their house, and they were really struggling financially. And that video really changed things for them. It got so many views, it got a ton of customers, their follower count went up, and they shared with me just some of the even personal financial situation that they were in, going from being at the doorstep of we're gonna have to shut down, maybe even lose our home type situation, to completely turning that around, and with just one video, which is just crazy. It just shows the power.
The power of social media, the power of when you're doing things for the right intentions.
Yeah.
Because the point that I was trying to make, I don't want to be an influencer, but I know I can add value to somebody. And now if I can add value to somebody, yes, I need to leverage social media. Because this is, to me, is what I call a great equalizer. Social media. This is the tool that allows entrepreneurs that are starting in the first 6 months, 12 months in being in business, to somebody who's been in business for 8 years, to companies that have been in business for over 15, 20 years. All of us have access to social media. So this to me is the great equalizer. But it's not about becoming an influencer. It's about adding value to somebody, changing people's lives, changing people's businesses, and especially when you do it the way you do it, you don't monetize that way. You've told me this. Oh, let's give a shout out to Route 30 Brewing. Mark, I'll leave this space for you, because you're the one that allowed us to bring the connection to do this video here. I want to thank you for that. What do we have here today, Mark?
Route 30, I went with the goat, their smash burger, and their tots, which are always delicious. Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
Fish chips. I have never had that, but I've heard
Thank you.
it's good.
Appreciate you.
But foods here are amazing, so we couldn't come here and not get some food.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
What is the owner's name again?
Eric.
Eric.
Yeah, he's one of the owners, yeah.
You know, so I give him thanks on my behalf for allowing us to use his space.
Yeah.
And honestly, for bringing up this amazing food. I had lunch, but I mean, there's no way I'm not gonna try this.
All right, you gotta taste the fish.
This thing's hot. I know the fish is gonna be hot, dude.
Yeah, it is hot. We'll come back to it.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah.
No. Oh yeah.
Sorry, that's your line. I had to use it. But brother, you look back 2 years in business with Mark from Riverside. What? And it's early, because I started to realize I should have done this different 3 years, 4 years into it. Have you noticed anything that you should have done different from 2 years back that you can now apply for the next 2 years going forward?
I'd say if I can go back and do anything different or change, I think the only thing would just be the consistency. Not that my consistency has been bad, but I mean, if I look back and if I just look at the data, right, and the metrics and numbers and views, all that, which I really try not to pay attention to, but if I do look at, like, you know, it like looks like this over the last 2 years, there were times where I never stopped, but there was times where I was consistent, day in and day out, quality videos, same thing over and over again. And there were times where I'd post every other day, or I'd miss a day, or I'd miss a couple days, or and I can see, just looking at the numbers and the engagement, how much it affected it, right? And how drastically and how quickly. So not that I did a terrible job, but if I could go back and just be more consistent, not just in what not just in how many times I'm posting, but even just the quality and being intentional, right? And I think for me, a lot of it was just being so busy and overwhelmed, where for up till now, the first 2 years, it was just me by myself, scheduling, communicating, shooting, editing, posting every day for 2 years by myself. And so a lot of times overwhelmed or just being burned out, right? Just by doing too much, which I think affected the consistency. So, I mean, I want to say I'm just now at the point I'd actually just hired like an operations manager who's coming in and helping me with scheduling and just all the back end stuff, getting it organized, because that's not my gifting. I'm the creative side and the visionary, and being organized is just not my thing. So I've I feel like I'm like coming in running out of gas all the time, you know. So I mean, I'd want to say if I can go back to hire someone sooner, but unfortunately the nature of the beast of this business, like we said, 2 years of not making any money and there's not a roadmap, I didn't have the money really to pay someone. So I mean, if I could have figured out a way to do that sooner and maybe figure out a way to monetize a little bit sooner, but even that I don't know what the answer is. But if I could like wave a magic wand, it would be hire and bring on somebody sooner,
And
because I've reached a point where I'm almost been bottlenecked, where in terms of monetizing it and kind of going over this hump, if I had someone sooner, I would have gotten to where I'm at now sooner. But it's kind of a catch-22.
There's things that you're learning as you're growing the business. And what you just mentioned right now, Mark, is, with Atleto Financial is as a business management company, we see this all the time.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, business owners are great at doing what they do best, which is the creation in your case, which is selling the product, which is providing a service, but it's a complete different ballgame to focus on the business. And you hear this a lot, focus on the business, work on the business, not in the business. What does that actually look like? The very first thing, once I understood this, I started to identify my business by wearing different hats. You just said it right now. We wear all the different hats, the marketing, the shooting, the editing, the accounting, the financing, the scheduling. And it happens all across the board with a lot of different business owners. But the best way that I've realized it is like, you gotta graduate from an entrepreneur to a CEO. You gotta take off all those hats that you've been wearing on your life, on your business, and then on top of that, your personal life. You still gotta be a boyfriend, a husband, a father, a son, a daughter, on top of everything. Once you start to identify, and yes, you have the position to delegate, it is the number one thing that business owners need to do to be able to transition and become the CEO. And the very first thing is identify those non-IGAs, the non-income generating activities, things that you gotta do that are not gonna make you money immediately, but if you don't do them, the business will not grow. What is the number one task that you will realizing, okay, I'm spending way too much time doing this, yet it's not bringing me the money and it's not letting me go out there and create more content to be able to keep on growing the business? What was the number one activity that you realized, I need to stop doing this, I gotta take this hat off? Which one was the first one you would say?
For me, it's all the scheduling and communication and on the back end, right? So these businesses that I'm going out and doing videos on, I mean, at first it was just me researching them, trying to find them. Now most of them are coming to me. So I have an endless list, but now it's just organizing that and scheduling and trying to figure out, okay, this week we're gonna do that. Because for me, the way it's operated has been, oh, I need a video today. What am I gonna do, right? Which for a long time, that's how it was. So it's like just day by day figuring it out, which is stressful, right? And it's overwhelming. So for me, it's getting that person to where all that back end stuff, scheduling, communicating, organizing. I don't need to be doing that. But for me, what I need to be doing is meeting with businesses, meeting with business owners, going out, shooting, building those relationships, putting the videos together, the stories together. All of that is what I need to be doing. And there's been times where I haven't been able to do as much of it as I wanted to, or do it as well as I wanted to, because I'm so overwhelmed that I'm scheduling and organizing and back end stuff and emails and all of that stuff is preventing me from doing the main thing as well as I can and as much as I can.
With Atleto Financial, we have 13 different sources of revenue, which is through memberships, which is through transactions of sales of policies, vice versa. What are the different sources of revenue that your business brings in? And I'm gonna highlight one of them if you allow me to do that, which is this car that you just brought up on board. Was it like a month? Not even a month, you just released it last month, right?
Yeah, just last month,
So this particular source of revenue, tell me a little bit more about it. How did you come up with this idea? And what is this?
So it's the Mark from Riverside Club card. Club members, they get, right now we have like 23 restaurants on there where they get 15% off all the time. To all those restaurants.
I've been milking it.
We're going to be adding a lot. Actually, Route 30 just joined. They're one of our newest members. So if you have a card, you get 15% off both locations all the time. We're going to be adding a bunch more restaurants. So now we're adding non-food as well. So like Vixen and Beard Barbershop is on there. The Flower Alley, Florist. So if you're a card member, you get 15% off flowers, 15% off haircuts, and all their products as well. So I'm trying to remember how it started. For me, we talked about trying to figure out monetizing and a lot of trial and error. Like, should I do this? Does this work? No. A lot of things I tried that I either weren't successful or I just scratched. And I was really careful that, one, I didn't want to try to monetize too early, right? I didn't want to I didn't want to take a whole bunch of pennies right now when I can get a whole bunch of dollars later.
Makes sense.
And so it took a lot of sacrifice and it made it harder. But I think I didn't monetize in ways that maybe other people have early on because I saw the bigger picture. So like, for example, those small restaurants and those small businesses, I don't charge them for those videos.
Yeah.
Most people doing what I'm doing, that's how they're monetizing it.
Correct.
They're charging the businesses that they're doing videos on. I try to target the great businesses that are local and small and locally owned. And most of them probably couldn't afford to pay, right,
Yeah.
for a video. And so I've intentionally done it for free for them to figure out, okay, I'll figure out how to monetize it later, is what I just kept saying. So this is one of the first ones that is now working, and I see a bigger vision for it. And I think it will be a really good source of income where basically they purchase the card, it's good for a whole year. And honestly, you only have to use it like 2 times for it to pay itself. So the value is huge. I wanted to create something that there's so much value in this that people have to buy it and have to have it. And then when it expires, they're gonna want a new one. So that was my goal. It's like, I wanna create something that has so much value that not only will they buy it, but they'll use it and they'll buy it again. And I wanna create a customer for life with them. And so that's what I've done with that. So I'm selling it, they get all those discounts. I'm gonna continue to add more and more businesses. But you were talking before about like you were saying how having a large amount of followers, but like I want to have a smaller amount that are engaged.
Correct.
And
a
so
community.
My thought behind that is I may have 58,000 followers on Instagram, but I'm not so much focused on that number. I just want to have 1,000 people that are connected, that I'm adding value to, that they're loyal. If I get 1,000 people out of those 58,000 that love what I'm doing, they love the videos, they love Riverside, they want to support, they want to be involved, that's really all I need.
All you need, I agree.
So, I mean, if you just look at a dollar amount, my goal is to get that card where it's worth $100, where people will pay $100 for it, where there's so much value. If I get 1,000 people to spend $100 a month, that's not bad.
Not bad at all.
So my idea with it was, at first it was just going to be restaurants, and realizing I'm featuring all these restaurants, I'm making these relationships with the restaurants, I'm doing videos for them, and so many of them would say, if there's anything I can ever do, like, because I didn't charge them for it. And so I basically had a long list of businesses, mostly restaurants, that not felt like they owed me something, but I knew that I had done something really valuable for them. I built a relationship with a lot of them. Some of them even have become friends. I feel like I built trust with them. So I knew that I would get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'll be able to, not that this was the purpose, but I'll be able to use those relationships to figure out how to do it. So this was the first one where every restaurant I've asked have said yes. I haven't had a single restaurant say no, because it's value for them too. They don't pay to be in the club. Their only cost is the discount that they're giving. And then I do a video on it. So for the restaurant, they're like, we love it. We want to be a part of it.
But you know what you just said? You explain it so easy, but it's so hard to get through it. Because it's the period. You have to go from point A to point B. It's going to be 2 years of building relationships, going out there, not monetizing what you're trying to do. You're still trying to build the concept. Is it gonna make sense? Is it not gonna make sense? Are people gonna trust me? But that's how you build the foundations of a solid business. You're building a relationship business, not a transactional business. And that's what it's missed so much with so many businesses and so many entrepreneurs, that yes, I get it. We all need the money. We all need to make sure that we're putting money in our pockets to be able to provide for food. But if you have a vision, the one thing you need is people to trust you, to allow you to implement it as a pilot program. Because when you have somebody that is allowing you to implement it as a pilot program without them knowing, is this gonna work? What's the benefit to me? But just the simple fact that somebody saying, you know what, go ahead, do this for me. Okay, you're on the right direction. You're not gonna monetize it immediately, but what you just said is key. You're building relationships with all these people. And that is the number one thing that I've noticed coming back to the Riverside conversation. We've been in Riverside for 3 months as a business. In March 1st is when we open up our doors here in Arlington. I've been living in Riverside for about a year now, but you are 110% correct with what you're saying about Riverside. I went from saying, I don't want to move to Riverside, to man, I should have moved to Riverside so much sooner for all of the reasons that you said. I've noticed though, all the business owner community, there's so much open to coming and opening your doors, building a relationship with you. You can come and talk to the owner of the business. And that I had a hard time finding in other cities, from Arcadia, from Chino Hills to Yorba Linda. But the community that Riverside brings onto the table, the business community, translates into how can we help the city of Riverside. And I know it's another topic that you, on top of everything that you're doing, hey, let me put another hat on. Hey, might as well, let me try to do something else. But how do you see the city of Riverside, and what are you trying to do I know what you're trying to do, but how do you try to make sure that this city changes and people notice that Riverside is not just a pass-through city?
Yeah.
Because you've been here for a long time. How are you trying to make sure that Riverside changes a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it for me, especially growing up here. Left when I was 18, went to school, came back, many years later. I say this all the time, but I had a unique experience of falling in love with the city that I grew up in as an adult and through adult eyes, and connecting and meeting with a lot of other business owners. And when I was doing the magazine, I was meeting with business owners and real estate agents, and then I started a podcast just for fun about Riverside. And so I had the mayor on, one of the city council members, so I was getting connected with people in public service and government and business owners. And I very quickly noticed that kind of bond that we talked about with Riverside business owners and people that have a genuine desire to make Riverside a better place, but not just a desire to make it a better place, but they see the vision of what it is already, right? So not just like, it's a terrible place, we want to make it great, but it's a great place and we want to make it better type thing. So I think for me, that's a big part of it. And being in that real estate world for so long and working with here specifically in Riverside with people moving and buying houses and seeing it from that perspective, and talking to a lot of people that had the same experience you did, where they moved here but just because they can't afford LA or Orange County. They didn't move to Riverside because they wanted to. And which the number of people the houses that are being purchased right now, the majority of them are people coming from LA and Orange County. That's where because a lot of people are selling and moving out of state. People that are coming are people that are coming from that area.
Yeah, 100% right.
And so me hearing a lot of stories, even just when I was in the real estate world, of a younger couple buying their first home, moving to Riverside, coming from LA, and hearing from them that slow experience or transition of, we didn't want to move here, to we started to like it, to we started to realize how great it is, to we
it's
love
a process,
that happens over and over again.
It does. I just went through it.
Yeah. So for me, for my page early on, one of my goals with it, my heart was to just build on that, right? And to put that out there more, to where one of my favorite comments or messages is when someone says, I grew up in this city, I've been here my whole life. Thank you for helping me realize how great it is. Or else, like, I'll have people tell me that. I've been here my whole life and I see it in a different way because of your page and because of your videos. And so that's been a big motivation at heart for me doing it, is to put the spotlight on the positive, because the negative always gets the spotlight, right? It always, and there's a ton of negative here.
It does.
Like every single city in the world. And historically, the negative is what gets the attention, it gets the spotlight, it's what gets more views. Like, I can do a video on a homeless guy taking a crap in the middle of the road, and that's probably going to get way more views than my other videos, right? But I'm focusing on the positive.
We saw one today. We saw one today.
It's not hard to find.
No.
But focusing on that positive, it just, it's there's so much negative, not just in the world, right? So
I was just gonna say that it's more than just Riverside. We all, as humans, I think we all tend to focus more on the negative than the positive. Which to me, I'm that guy that I like to focus on what I'm doing wrong, because I know I can change that. But the positive is something that we need to pay more attention to. Let me ask you a couple of questions. What is your favorite verse in the Bible?
My favorite, it's actually right here on my arm. Ephesians 1:3.
Okay. Can you quote it?
It says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places in Christ."
How would your life be today if you would have kept on going with what you were originally studying, you think?
If I had stayed like in ministry and on that road, how would my life be? I don't know. I think where I'm at now, I don't think it would be a whole lot different in terms of me and who I am. Because I've tried to, obviously going through Bible college and thinking I was going to go into ministry and that was going to be my full-time job, and then me realizing that's not my path. I haven't changed my path. I just changed my method of transportation.
Okay.
I changed the car. I haven't changed the road I'm on. I just changed the vehicle. I guess. So it's, does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. How do you see your life developing for the next 5 years? What is your business plan for the next 5 years as a CEO?
So for the next 5 years is to obviously take what I have now, and in terms of the social media platforms and the content to continue what it is, and just build on that. So there's other, nothing different, but just kind of more of the same that I want to do, and branch out into, I would start doing videos on more historical stuff and things about the city. And so one, just to build on that, right?
Okay.
Just add more floors to the building.
Okay.
Like same building, but right now there's maybe 2 or 3 floors. I want to add 5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay.
9 floors, right? And then the key to that, maybe the hard part is, I think with any business, once you need to start adding other, whether it's a product or a service or their floors. I think a lot of business owners they'll put a floor on the building that doesn't fit the building. It's like, this building doesn't work. Like it goes, all of a sudden, it's like, what's this floor doing? It doesn't fit, right? So I think the key in what I'm trying to do as I'm figuring that out now is I need to add more floors, I need to add more layers, but I need to make sure that it fits
solid,
the building.
yeah.
So, and so with that, in terms of branding and the message and the feel and why I'm doing it, the purpose of it, all needs to fit. So one is to continue to build floors on the building, and then just build, not a huge staff, but continue to bring more people in so that I can do more. Because for me to add on the floor, I need someone to take some of this other stuff off my plate. So the next 5 years is finish the building, and add what I want to add to it. And then, beyond that, I'm not sure. Because like I said, it's kind of the Wild West, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like there's not really a roadmap. And I think I'm already at the point where I'm doing things that even other people in this world that I'm doing aren't doing. And but I'm always, like, the creative process is my favorite part. So I'm sure I'm going to have some idea next week, maybe, that I'll probably have 10 ideas next week, and 9 of them will probably be terrible, but there might be one that becomes a key part of my business.
To everything that you got to do.
Yeah, so I historically, for me, my downfall has been because I'm driven by the creative side, and what I love thinking outside the box, like, how can we do this different? How can we do this better? Is that what I've done, especially I did this when I was in the world of publishing. I had 4 magazines and I was doing more and more and more. I built a really tall building, right?
Yeah.
With many, many floors, but it didn't have a strong foundation. So it was very successful. I made a lot of money, but I didn't have that foundation. And so it was a building that could topple over very easily. And several times it did in my life. And I basically lost everything at times. So I think that's one of the reasons with this, why I've spent the last 2 years not monetizing it, not making money, just really figuring out what it is and perfecting it and doing it well. So I have this huge foundation that's under the ground. You can't see it.
Yeah, but it's there.
You can't see it. It doesn't make me money. It doesn't do anything. But there's a foundation there that now I can start building.
You can build on top of it.
So the next 5 years is figuring out what all those floors are, finding the right people, bringing on the right team, to where we get to the point a year, 2 years from now where we have an office, I have a staff, and we're doing this, but we're figuring out, okay, what are these other floors and what are these other layers that all fit the same message and the same goal of what it is I'm doing now.
For other business owners that are out there that they don't want to do social media, what would you tell them?
Just close your business. Yeah, might as well close your business. Yeah. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, the world we live in today with social media, if you're, and I saw this in the real estate world, right? So when I got into the real estate industry in terms of doing magazines and working specifically with top producing real estate agents all over the country, you had those agents that were maybe in the game for 10, 15 years, right? And at that point, all their business was word of mouth. Yeah. So they don't do any marketing, they don't do any advertising. They've sold so many homes. They sold, like, if you're their client, say I'm a real estate agent, I've been doing it for 15 years. I sold you your first home 15 years ago. And then when you wanted to sell that one, I helped you sell it and I helped you buy another one. Then I helped you buy a rental property, right? So I probably helped, hypothetically, right? Helped you buy 5, 6 homes. And then you told your brother, you told your mom, you told all these people. So at this point, 15 years in, I don't have to do any marketing, any advertising. It's all word of mouth. It's repeat business and it's coming in. And that's the way the real estate world has worked for a long time. Well, social media came in and it's kind of been a disruptor to where people are, I would say people aren't as loyal in our society as they used to be. Yeah, right?
I can agree with that. So if you
go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, it's like, I work with Tony, he's my guy, ride or die. As long as he doesn't do me wrong. I think we're much more fickle in our society. We're not as loyal to working with people. Yeah. So maybe I helped this person, I'm a real estate agent, buy their home 5 years ago, and now they want to sell it. And for whatever reason, they saw someone else and they didn't even call me. That happens a lot more than it used to.
No, I agree.
So just in that one industry as an example, I think this applies to just about every industry, but using that one as an example, those real estate agents were able to kind of rest on their laurels, right? Where I don't have to market, I don't have to advertise, I don't have to do social media because I have this group. Now, because of social media, because we're being bombarded left and right? So if I'm on social media, I'm a regular person, I'm seeing real estate agents in my newsfeed all the time, right? And I'm not as loyal as just an average person in our society that I think anymore. And so the chance of me not using that agent that I used 5 years ago is much higher than it used to be. So because of that, social media is so much more important.
That's like I was saying earlier, it's the great equalizer.
Yep.
Honestly.
And so I've seen agents being in that real estate world for 7, 8, 9 years. I've seen agents that were at the top, right? Top in their market. And over the last 5 years, they've kind of gone like this because there's a new agent that's been in for 3 years or 5 years. And they're good, they know what they're doing, but they're all over social media.
It just keeps on coming up.
And it helps them stay top of mind, right? So if I'm an agent, I helped you buy your house 5 years ago, and you're following me on Instagram, and I'm constantly popping up on your feed, when you go to sell their house, you're a lot more likely instantly to be like, oh, Mark, let's call Mark.
That guy that comes
he was on my phone
media,
yesterday. I watched his video this morning, right? So for a business in today's world with social media, it's absolutely necessary.
Crucial, man.
It's absolutely
necessary. It is. It's like me on my end. We've been in business for 8 years, but what has helped me out a lot is creating personal brand instead of corporate branding. That is the one thing that I had to realize and be open with is, let me put myself in front of the camera. Let me show people who we are. Let me show people who are they going to be doing business with. And wait a second, I can put a boosted ad right here and it's going to be in front of a lot more people. But creating content, genuine content, and understanding that people want to do business with Mark from Riverside, with Tony, just so happens that Tony has Leto, Mark has Mark from Riverside, but you need to be open to let people know and let people see who you are. And just use this tool as personal brand instead of corporate brand, so that we start to wrap it up, because I know we gotta eat. How can I help you? Is there anything that I can do to help you?
Honestly, your friendship has been great and amazing. Just getting to know you as a friend and building that relationship has been, I think, honestly, the best part. Because that's why relationships are so important, right? And I think social media is so great and it can be so powerful. But at the same time, I think it can prevent us from really making and building those relationships one-on-one and in person. Because it's so easy to just Instagram message, text message, right? When people aren't even talking on the phone. It's just words on the screen for the most part. And so when it comes down to relationships are so important because, like you said, building a personal brand versus a corporate brand, people follow people, right? And so that's why people like me have become successful and have gotten so much attention, especially if like I'm putting myself out there. I'm just being me. I'm not performing. I'm just being me. And
100%, man.
And people connect to that because we have built in us, God gave us, which comes from him and his character and who he is, for a relationship. I mean, he created us to have a relationship with him. So we're relational beings, right? We crave and we desire relationships with people. And I think because of the busyness of the world, because of social media, we're lacking in personal relationships. And one of the ways people are filling that void is they're connecting with and following people on social media. Where like they'll follow me and they're like, oh, I know him. Like I feel like I connect with them. I know him. But with that said, it's why personal relationships and person connecting is just so important, because it's in our DNA. That's
and being open to do it. Because the way you and I started to have this friendship is I send you a message. Hey man, how you doing? How are you? And then you send me a message back. I'm like, first thing that came to my mind was, is it really him? Is somebody managing his social media? And I asked him, man, is this really you? I'm like, no, this is really me. Hey man, you want to go have coffee? He was like, yeah, let's go have coffee. I'm like, you truly are that person that you're saying you are. You know, and I want to thank you for your friendship too, because that is the one thing that I tell you. I'm just looking to make friends, man. I'm blessed to say the business keeps on moving forward. Can I get some help from you? Yes, I could by promoting my company and your brand in your page, which hopefully at some point maybe we can do it. But the fact that you open up to become a friend, the fact that you are giving some of your time to help me get closer to God and understand His Word. I really thank you for that, because this is something that I have been looking for. And for whatever reason, I'm not going to get into religion, but if I didn't have the calling to go find this deeper relationship with God through a church, for whatever I might be that I think about the church or the religion, which I'm also back to being in church now.
Yeah.
But it's through you is I've been able to understand better the word that God has left for us in the Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth, and for that I thank you, because you are helping me understand better. And the fact that you had that history, that's how you started your path in this life, by reading and learning and studying the Bible, to the point that you now share that time with me on a Thursday morning. I really thank you for that. And I think this is something that a lot more people should seek. I'm not saying they should come and seek you to learn everything on the Bible, but just seek Him, seek God. And if you can find, if you seek, you will find that person that will help you get closer to Him.
Yeah.
And that came in the form of you to me. And I thank you for your friendship. And I thank you for accepting to come and do this collaboration with me. I don't know where it's gonna go. I hope it's a fine conversation. I hope a lot of the business owners that are trying to figure things out, you learn from Mark, you find your network, start small, find your niche, and Riverside is a great city to do that. Yeah. I'm a big proof of that. But to wrap it up, man, this is your part. What do we do here?
All right, so fish and chips, you just got to go in.
We just got to dig in?
Take a bite.
All right, man, I think I got cold by now. I will. I'll put some lemon on it. Gotta get the juice dripping.
Hold it up.
All right.
And then there you go.
Oh, people's gotta see it.
That's how you do it.
It's a juicy one. Hold on. Get some of these seeds out. Tartar sauce.
No. You gotta go like this.
Oh, I'm a newbie at this, man. I don't do food.
There you go.
Hold on, let it drop. Oh yeah. All right. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Mark. You say it.
It's good.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You gotta go into yours, man.
Yeah, these tater tots are delicious too.
All right, everybody.
Really, really good.
I'm gonna let you go with this bite.
Remember those old commercials with the ketchup coming out real slow?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. Smash burger. I've had it before. They call it the GOAT for a reason. Got to come out to Route 30. Amazing beer, amazing food.
Oh yeah. Remember, they're coming into the club pretty soon. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a blessed day. God bless Riverside.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother. Take one more.